The message came at 3 in the morning. Commander Park woke up to the sound of her communicator beeping loudly on her bedside table. She grabbed it with tired eyes and read the words on the screen. Admiral had sent her new orders. The message was short and simple. Report to the Helix system. Priority Alpha. Represent Earth at the Assembly of the 12 Kingdoms. Read the message 3 times. The Helix system was dangerous. Everyone knew that. 12 alien kingdoms had been fighting cold wars there for hundreds of years. Humanity had only recently earned a place at their political table. The aliens did not trust humans yet. Some of them hated humans, and now had to go there and represent her entire species. She got out of bed and started packing. Her mind was already thinking about all the things that could go wrong. The Helix system was full of old grudges and political games. When the message said represent, was sure it meant protect. She was a soldier first, a diplomat second. She knew how to fight better than she knew how to talk. Opened her equipment locker and pulled out her Mark VII battle armor. It was black and heavy and covered with scars from old fights. She had worn this armor on 12 different planets. It had saved her life more times than she could count. She checked every piece carefully. The chest plate, the arm guards, the helmet with its advanced computer system. Everything was working perfectly. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Moon, came to her quarters an hour later. Was younger than by 5 years. She had short black hair and sharp eyes that noticed everything. When she saw the battle armor laid out on the floor, she raised one eyebrow. "Are you sure about this, Commander?" asked. The briefing packet mentioned formal proceedings. Shook her head. Formal proceedings in the Helix system means someone is going to get killed. I would rather wear too much armor than not enough. Did not argue. She had served with for 3 years. She knew better than to question her commander's instincts. Those instincts had kept their whole team alive through some very bad situations. Their ship was called It was a small Corvette-class vessel with a crew of 20. Fast and quiet and perfect for missions that required careful movement. Stood on the bridge as they jumped through 3 relay gates. Each jump brought them closer to the Helix system. Each jump made the knot in her stomach grow. When they finally arrived at Prime, felt her breath catch in her throat. The planet was beautiful, more beautiful than anything she had ever seen. Giant towers made of crystal rose from the surface. They caught the light of the twin suns and scattered it into a million colors. Floating palaces drifted through the clouds like ships sailing on an ocean of air. Everything looked like it belonged in a dream. But that was not what surprised her. Thousands of ships surrounded the planet. Her first thought was that a war had started. She almost ordered her crew to prepare weapons. Then she looked more carefully at the ships. They were not warships. They were covered in decorations and lights. They were playing music that she could hear even through the hull of her own ship. These were ceremonial barges, party ships, ships meant for celebration. "Commander," said. Her voice was strange. She was looking at a new transmission on her screen. "I think there has been a misunderstanding." A holographic message appeared in front of. It showed the royal seal of. Below the seal were words written in 17 different languages. Found the Korean translation and read it slowly. "We welcome Earth's champion to the coronation of Empress. May she stand among the honored 12. Coronation. The word hit like a punch to the stomach. This was not a security mission. This was not a dangerous political meeting. This was a party, a royal ceremony, the biggest celebration in the Helix system, and she had been invited as Earth's representative. Looked down at her battle armor. Then she looked at the floating crystal palaces. Then she looked at who was pressing her lips together very hard. Her lieutenant was trying not to laugh. "I am going to kill Admiral," said quietly. Finally let out a small laugh. "What do you want to do, Commander? We could send a message, ask for more time. Maybe we can find some formal clothes somewhere." Thought about it. She could turn the ship around. She could claim there was an emergency. She could do 100 things to avoid walking into that coronation wearing combat gear. But she was a soldier. Soldiers did not run away from problems. They faced them head-on. No, said, we go down, we represent Earth, we do our job. In battle armor. In battle armor. Stared at her for a moment. Then she smiled. This is either going to be the worst diplomatic incident in human history or the most interesting. I am not sure which. Picked up her helmet and looked at her reflection in its dark surface. Her face was calm. Her eyes were determined. She had faced alien monsters and enemy soldiers and the cold emptiness of space. She could face a room full of royal aliens in fancy clothes. Probably. Take us down, she ordered. And make sure you record everything. If I am going to embarrass humanity, I want there to be evidence. They began its descent toward Prime. Below them, the crystal towers sparkled like diamonds. Above them, the ceremonial barges played their alien songs, and Commander Park checked her armor one more time, preparing herself for the strangest battle of her life. The Grand Atrium of Prime was the oldest building in the Helix system. It had hosted coronations for 6,000 years. Kings and queens and emperors had walked through its doors since before humans learned to make fire. The walls were made of living crystal that grew and changed and sang soft melodies whenever someone moved nearby. Stood outside the massive entrance doors. They were 50 meters tall and carved with images of ancient rulers. Guards in silver armor watched her with curious eyes. Behind her, gave her a small nod of encouragement. You can do this, Commander whispered. Just walk in, stand straight, look confident. I look like I am here to start a war, whispered back. Then look like you are here to win that war. Took a deep breath. She tucked her helmet under her arm. She straightened her shoulders. Then she walked through the doors. The Grand Atrium was filled with light. Thousands of floating crystals hung from the ceiling, each one glowing with soft colors. The floor was polished so smooth that could see her own reflection, and everywhere she looked there were aliens. So many aliens. Delegations from 11 kingdoms stood in groups around the room. Each group wore their own ceremonial clothes. The war robes made of woven starlight that actually glowed. The war armor covered in scales from their beasts. The war gowns that shifted through every color like living rainbows. They floated above the ground in clouds of purple mist. Every single one of them was dressed in something beautiful, something delicate, something that said peace and celebration and joy. And then there was. Her boots echoed against the crystal floor. Thump, thump, thump. Every step sounded like thunder in the quiet room. Every head turned to look at her. Every eye stared at the human in black battle armor walking through the hall of celebration. The whisper started immediately. Neural implant translated the words automatically, her brain filled with fragments of alien conversation. What is she wearing? Is that combat gear? Do humans not understand what a coronation is? Perhaps they expect violence. How barbaric. How strange. She kept walking. She did not let her face show any emotion. She had learned long ago that showing weakness in front of strangers was dangerous. It did not matter that these strangers were alien royalty. The rule was the same. The Prime Minister approached her. He was tall and thin with silver skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on his face. His robes were white and gold and probably cost more than his entire ship. Commander Park, he said. His voice was polite but confused. We expected formal attire. His mind raced. She needed an answer. She needed something that would make sense, something that would not make humanity look stupid. The words came out of her mouth before she could stop them. This is formal, she said. On Earth, we honor important occasions by bringing our strength. Battle armor represents our commitment to protecting what matters. It was a complete lie. She had made it up on the spot. Humans wore suits and dresses to formal events, just like most other species. But the Prime Minister did not know that. His 4 eyes blinked one at a time as he processed her words. "How profound," he said slowly. More whispers filled the room, caught new translations. "They wear war to celebrations. Humans must expect danger everywhere. Perhaps they are always ready to fight, paranoid creatures. Or perhaps wise ones." A new figure approached. This one was not. He was a reptilian species known for their warrior culture. His name was, and his armor bore the marks of 100 battles. Deep scratches and old burns covered every surface. He looked at with yellow eyes that missed nothing. "I approve of the human," announced loudly. His voice carried across the entire hall. "Finally, someone who understands." He stood next to and crossed his arms. His posture said that anyone who wanted to criticize her would have to criticize him too. It was an unexpected gift from an unexpected ally. "Thank you," said quietly. "Do not thank me yet," replied. "The ceremony is long, 4 hours of standing, 4 hours of listening to speeches. Your armor will serve you well. The others will be suffering in their delicate clothes." Almost smiled. She had not thought about that advantage. Her armor had internal cooling systems and support structures. She could stand for 12 hours without getting tired. The aliens in their fancy robes would be sweating and aching before the first hour ended. A horn sounded, deep and long and beautiful. The ceremony was beginning. Everyone moved to their assigned positions, found the spot marked for Earth's representative. It was near the front, closer to the throne than she expected. Humanity's new status in the Helix system had earned them a place of honor. The future Empress entered from a door behind the throne. Her name was, and she was young for her species, only 300 years old. Her skin glowed with soft blue and violet light. Her eyes were ancient and wise despite her youth. She wore a crown of floating stars that orbited her head like tiny moons. She was beautiful, terrifyingly beautiful, the kind of beauty that made feel very small and very human. The ceremony began, priests chanted, crystals sang. Oaths were spoken in languages older than human civilization, stood at attention and watched everything. Her armor recorded every detail. Her eyes tracked every movement in the room. Because even in a place of celebration, a soldier never stopped watching for danger. And somewhere in the shadows above, danger was watching back. 4 hours passed slowly. The ceremony continued without stopping. Priests spoke ancient words. Crystals changed colors with each new phase of the ritual. Music filled the air from instruments that could not see. Everything was beautiful and perfect and extremely boring. Watch the other delegates. The ambassador stood as still as stone, his warrior training keeping him focused. But many others were struggling. A diplomat kept shifting her weight from foot to foot. A noble was slowly sinking lower in his cloud of purple mist. The in their starlight robes were sweating despite the cool air. Her armor kept her comfortable. The internal systems regulated her temperature. Soft cushions supported her feet. A small tube near her mouth gave her water whenever she needed it. Had been right. The battle armor was an advantage here. But did not relax. Something felt wrong. She could not explain it. Her instincts were screaming at her. Years of combat experience had taught her to trust those feelings. When something felt dangerous, it usually was. Her eyes moved across the room. The guards stood at their posts. The priests performed their rituals. The delegates watched the ceremony. Everything looked normal. Everything looked safe. Then why did she feel like someone was watching her? The ceremony reached its final moment. Empress knelt before the high priest. He lifted a crown made of 12 stars connected by threads of pure light, the crown of 12 kingdoms, the symbol of her new power. He began to lower it toward her head. Armor screamed. Red warnings flashed across her helmet's display. Threat detected. Hostile energy signature. Upper gallery. Weapon charging. The words burned into her brain in less than a second. She did not think. Thinking would take too long. Her body moved on pure instinct. Her armor's boost system fired. Rockets in her boots launched her 15 meters into the air. She flew toward the Empress like a missile, her left arm raised. Her gauntlet activated its kinetic shield. A wall of blue energy appeared in front of her hand. The plasma bolt hit the shield at the same moment. The impact was massive, felt herself spinning through the air. Heat washed over her armor. Warning lights flashed about shield damage, but the bolt did not reach the Empress. It splashed against the energy barrier and scattered into harmless sparks. Targeting computer had already found the shooter, a figure in the upper gallery, cloaked in shadows, holding a weapon that still glowed with heat. She fired her grappling line. The metal hook shot through the air and caught the gallery's edge. She pulled herself up with one smooth motion. Her armored body flew upward like a stone from a slingshot. The assassin tried to run. He was male. His silver skin was marked with strange symbols, old noble house markings, her translator told her, a disgraced family with many reasons to hate the new Empress. He moved fast, but not fast enough. His armored hand caught him by the throat. "Bad timing," she said. Then she threw him over the gallery rail. He fell 3 stories. His body hit the ceremonial floor with a terrible crack. Crystal tiles shattered beneath him. He groaned once and went still, alive but barely. His weapon clattered away across the floor. Jumped down after him. Her armor absorbed the impact. She landed beside his broken body and put one boot on his chest. Then she looked up at the assembled monarchs. The entire room was frozen. Thousands of aliens stared at her with wide eyes. The priests had stopped chanting. The music had stopped playing. Even the floating crystals had gone dark. "Sorry about the interruption," said. Her voice was calm and steady. "Please continue." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The silence was so complete that could hear her own heartbeat inside her helmet. Then started laughing. The ambassador threw back his head and roared with amusement. The sound was rough and loud and completely out of place, but it broke the spell. Other voices began to rise. Guards rushed forward to secure the assassin. Medical staff hurried to check his injuries. Advisors surrounded the Empress, shouting questions and orders. Stayed where she was. Her boot remained on the assassin's chest. She was not going to let anyone move him until she was sure there were no other threats. A guard approached her carefully. "Commander Park, we will take the prisoner now." "Check the gallery first," said. "He might have partners." The guard nodded and spoke into his communicator. More guards rushed toward the upper levels. They searched every shadow, every corner, every hidden space, waited until they reported the all clear. Only then did she step back. The assassin was carried away on a floating stretcher. His eyes were closed, but his chest was still moving. He would live to face trial for his crimes. That was good. Dead assassins could not answer questions. Finally allowed herself to breathe. The adrenaline was fatting. Her hands were starting to shake inside her gauntlets. She had moved on instinct, without thinking, without planning. If her armor had been even a little slower, the Empress would be dead. But the Empress was not dead. She was alive, and she was walking directly toward. The guards tried to stop her. Her advisors shouted warnings. Nobody thought it was safe for the new Empress to approach the armored human who had just thrown a man 3 stories, but ignored them all. She walked through the crowd like it did not exist. She stopped in front of and looked up at her with those ancient, glowing eyes. "You saved my life," she said simply. "Yes, Empress," replied. "In your war dress." Felt her face grow hot beneath her helmet. "Yes, Empress." Smiled. It was a small smile, but it held something that looked like genuine amusement. "I think we need to talk, Commander Park." The aftermath of the assassination attempt was chaos. Guards ran everywhere. Officials shouted orders. Medical teams checked every delegate for injuries. The beautiful ceremony had become a scene of confusion and fear. But in the center of it all, Empress stood calm and still. She had not left side since walking toward her. Her advisors hovered nearby, wringing their hands and begging her to move to safety. She ignored them completely. "Your briefing officers did not tell you this was a coronation," said. "It was not a question." Hesitated. She could lie. She could maintain the story about human customs and battle armor representing respect, but something in the Empress's eyes told her that lying would be a mistake. "No, Empress," she admitted. "I was told to represent Earth at an assembly. I thought it was a security mission." "So you prepared for danger?" "I always prepare for danger." Nodded slowly. Her glowing skin shifted from blue to violet as she considered words. "And because you prepared for danger, you were the only one ready when danger actually came." "I was lucky," said. "My armor detected the weapon charge. Any of your guards could have done the same if they had similar equipment." But they did not have similar equipment. They wore ceremonial armor, beautiful but useless. They trusted that this place was safe. His voice grew harder. "They were fools, and I was a fool for letting them be fools." She turned to face the assembled delegates. The chaos was slowly settling down. Guards had taken control. Order was being restored, but everyone was still watching the Empress and the human in battle armor. "Commander Park," announced. Her voice carried through the entire hall. The crystals in the walls amplified her words. "You came dressed for war when everyone else dressed for peace." Felt hundreds of eyes on her. She stood, trying to look like someone who deserved this attention. "And in doing so," continued, "you were the only one prepared to protect that peace. You saved my life. You saved this ceremony. You saved the future of the 12 kingdoms." Whispers spread through the crowd. Translator worked to catch them all. "She saved the Empress. A human saved our Empress. In battle armor. Perhaps humans are not so barbaric after all." Reached into her robes and pulled out a small object. It was a metal made of the same living crystal as the walls. Shaped like a star, it pulsed with inner light. Soft colors moved through it like flowing water. "This is the star of," the Empress said. "It has not been awarded to anyone outside our species for 2,000 years, but today I break that tradition." She looked at with eyes that seemed to see through her armor, through her skin, right into her soul. "Kneel." Knelt, her armor's joints whirred softly as she lowered herself to the crystal floor. She had never knelt before anyone, not admirals, not presidents, not anyone in her entire military career, but she knelt now. Placed the crystal star against chest plate. It bonded immediately, melting into the metal like it had always belonged there. Felt warmth spread through her armor. The star pulsed once, twice, 3 times. Then it settled into a steady glow. "I name you champion of," the Empress declared. "Protector of the 12 kingdoms. From this day forward you speak with my authority. You act with my blessing. Let no being question humanity's place at this table again." The room exploded with sound. Aliens of every species began to applaud. The ambassador was stamping his feet and roaring approval. Even the delegates who had whispered about barbaric humans were clapping their hands. Rose slowly. Her mind was struggling to understand what had just happened. She had come here expecting a simple mission. She had made a mistake about what kind of mission it was. She had shown up in completely wrong clothing, and somehow that mistake had led to this moment. "Empress," she said carefully, "I am honored, but I am just one soldier. I cannot represent all of humanity." Smiled again, that small, knowing smile that seemed to hold centuries of wisdom. "You already do, Commander, whether you intended to or not. Today, every species in this room learned something about humans." "What did they learn?" "That you are always ready, always watching, always prepared to act when others hesitate." Eyes moved across the crowd. The assassin chose this moment because he thought everyone would be distracted by ceremony. He was almost right, but he did not expect a human in battle armor. She leaned closer too. Her voice dropped to a whisper that only the two of them could hear. Your people are young in this galaxy. Many species do not respect you yet. They think you are primitive, aggressive, dangerous without purpose. But today you showed them something different. You showed them that human aggression has purpose. Human danger has direction. You are not wild animals. You are guardians who have not yet found something to guard. Felt something shift in her chest. The crystal star pulsed warmly against her armor. Until now, finished. Now you have found something. Now you guard the 12 kingdoms, and the galaxy will never forget it. The celebration continued late into the night. The coronation ceremony was completed with extra guards watching every shadow. Food was served. Music played. Aliens danced and laughed and talked about the incredible events they had witnessed. And Commander Park stood among them, wearing her battle armor and her new star, wondering how she was going to explain any of this to Admiral. 3 weeks later, sat in Admiral's office on Earth. The crystal star still glowed softly on her uniform jacket. She had tried to remove it once. It would not come off. The living crystal had bonded with the fabric like it was part of her now. Admiral sat behind his desk, staring at her with an expression she could not read. He was an old soldier with gray hair and tired eyes. He had seen many strange things in his long career, but the look on his face said that this situation was stranger than most. Let me understand this correctly, he said slowly. I sent you to observe a coronation. You arrived in full battle armor. You created an interstellar incident, and somehow you became the champion of an alien empire. Also, I stopped an assassination and secured a permanent alliance with the 12 kingdoms, added. The Empress has invited me to return for the annual Summit of Stars. Several other delegations have asked if I will be wearing the armor again. Will you? Allowed herself a small smile. I am having a new set made. The Empress is gifting me crystal plating. It will be stronger and lighter than my old armor. Admiral rubbed his temples with both hands. He looked like a man with a very large headache. You know what the alien networks are calling you. I have seen the translations. They call you the human who wears war. I have heard that, sir. They think it was intentional. They think Earth sends its warriors to peaceful events in battle armor as a statement. They believe we are always ready, always watching, always prepared to protect or attack at a moment's notice. Said nothing. She waited for the Admiral to continue. 3 minor kingdoms have already requested military alliances with Earth, said. The Dominion wants to establish a joint training program. They are offering trade agreements worth more money than our entire planetary economy, all because one commander wore the wrong clothes to a party. Is that a problem, sir? Admiral stared at her. His tired eyes held something new, something that looked almost like amusement. Problem, Commander Park, you have accidentally created the most effective diplomatic strategy in human history. He leaned back in his chair. Other species spent centuries building their reputations. They fought wars. They signed treaties. They played political games for generations. And you achieved the same result in 4 hours by showing up in combat gear. I did not plan any of it, sir. That almost makes it better. You acted on instinct. You did what felt natural to you as a soldier, and that natural behavior impressed the entire galaxy. He stood up and walked to his window. Outside, the city of Seoul stretched toward the horizon. Towers of glass and steel glittered in the afternoon sun. Flying vehicles moved between buildings like schools of fish. Earth had changed so much since first contact with alien species, but humans were still humans, still curious, still stubborn, still ready to fight when fighting was needed. From now on, Admiral said without turning around, all Terran diplomatic envoys to the Helix system will wear formal battle dress. That is the new protocol. You have set the standard, Commander. Blinked, sir, I am not sure that is wise. Other species might see it as threatening. Other species already think we are threatening. That is not going to change. But now they also think we are honorable. They think we are vigilant. They think we are the kind of species that protects our allies instead of abandoning them. He finally turned to face her. You gave humanity a reputation we could not have built in 100 years of traditional diplomacy. I just did my job, sir. Your job was to stand in a room and look friendly. You did considerably more than that. Walked back to his desk and picked up a document. This is your new assignment. You are being promoted to Special Envoy to the 12 Kingdoms. You will return to Prime as Earth's permanent representative. Took the document. Her hands were steady, but her heart was beating fast. Permanent representative, sir. I am a soldier, not a diplomat. You are both now. The Empress requested you specifically. She says you understand things that other diplomats do not understand. Smiled for the first time. I am inclined to agree with her. The document contained details about her new position, living quarters on Prime, a staff of translators and assistants, access to the highest levels of alien government. It was more responsibility than she had ever imagined having. There is one more thing, said. The ambassador has asked to meet with you before you leave. Something about warrior traditions and shared understanding. I suggest you accept his invitation. Remembered's laughter in the grand atrium, his approval when everyone else was shocked, his silent support when she needed it most. I will meet with him, she said. Good, dismissed, Commander, or should I say Envoy Park. Stood and saluted. Then she walked out of the office, carrying her new assignment and her glowing crystal star. In the years that followed, historians would debate the meaning of that day. Some said Commander Park was a genius who understood exactly what she was doing. Others said she was just lucky. A few argued that the universe itself had arranged events to put her in the right place at the right time. The truth was simpler, was a soldier who prepared for danger. When danger came, she was ready. That was all. That was everything. And every year at the Summit of Stars, the human delegation arrived in their finest armor, polished and gleaming and ready for whatever the galaxy might bring. Because that was the lesson had taught them, the lesson that would echo through centuries of human history among the stars. Peace was precious, but the willingness to fight for it was what made it real.